Jam on toast!
Hey everybody, welcome to the Jam. Today's toast is to Orange is the New Black, a Netflix original series. Now this is a Phil Defranco movie club review, and Phil, thanks for finally getting to this. I think Comic-Con got in the way, but I expected you to have us on this as soon as it came out. Netflix had advertised it for I don't know how long before it came out. And in anticipation, I jumped in the first weekend and powered through it all that weekend hoping that you would do it. And it just so happens that I managed to write my review the morning of the release that you said we were going to be watching Orange is the New Black. So this nerd came prepared. The short sale on this one is that a woman gets caught for smuggling drugs once, 20 years ago, and is ordered to self-surrender. And she actually does it. Her incarceration is supposed to last 13 months. Theoretically, you can get time off for good behavior, and they can actually hold you if you commit more crimes while you're in there. Season 1 only focuses on the first few months, and hopefully this won't go the How I Met Your Mother and go for twice as long as it should. Now, I'm going to try to stay away from talking about prison and our incarceration system in general. For the record, I was a correctional officer for 6 months or so. I've been to a place similar to how these ladies are housed, and I can't say I'm necessarily on the inmate's side. With that jaded perspective, let's continue on. Why I love it is actually all the zany characters. It's surprisingly accurate for a real prison. You do actually have those type of people in there. And the cliques are probably about right. My hate is just Piper Chapman. Like, she just digs herself into these things. She pushes everyone's away. But she's so fucking codependent that she can't do anything on her own. Or she acts like she can't do it on her own. Even though she's super self-absorbed and expects everyone to do these things for her. Which is what makes the last scene of the series so phenomenal. The MVP is Taylor Schilling. And for the record, I don't really like her acting so much. And if I can be a pig for a minute, I don't find her particularly attractive. But she nails the part. She emphasizes the loss of her world very well. And she shows us to be scared because you don't know what's going to happen. I think maybe she was intended to be an everyman, and I just can't get there. But whatever, Miss Schilling, you nailed it. And let's move on to categories. Aesthetics. Other than having new inmates in a different color uniform, I'd say they did a lot of this pretty spot on. An inmate wouldn't be driving a car around outside the base without an officer, but you can let that go because it's such a rare instance. And they actually use it as a plot device later, so they have purpose for it, and I'm okay with that. But a lot of the inmates show their characteristics just on their person and their stance, the way they talk. And they casted really, really well for this series, I gotta say. And not to be gross, but I really hope all the meth Christians don't have that really going on, and I hope that's just really good makeup work. So, aesthetics gets an 88. Character development. I don't think we really develop Chapman so much. Her husband gets developed pretty well because we learn what he does with this situation. She's just kind of the frightened little bunny the entire series, and it doesn't get boring, so it's hard to complain about. What we do get development in is in the 40 other characters that are in the movie. Bit by bit, they even give us expositions about them, and we learn lots of things. And we do get exposition on Chapman herself, but usually it's in connection with her ex. Character development gets an 88. Storyline. I don't know what to say about the story other than it's not quite strong enough. It's a great idea. On paper it sounds good. Maybe if it was a movie it would be different. But because it's a series and it's so drawn out, you have to build and pace right. And the beginning is very, very slow. And you just have to kind of slow through the first 3 episodes so you have the proper context for the rest of the season. Because the rest of the season would not be any good if you missed the first 3 episodes. Ultimately, I find it very hard to relate to anybody, even though they are funny and possibly likable. And Chapman kind of rubs me the wrong way throughout the whole series, even if I tend to agree with some of what's going on with her. I think this is a case where they could have made it better, but it wouldn't be nearly as funny, and I don't think it would have done as well. Storyline gets a 75. Compulsion. This is a pretty funny movie, but it does drag from time to time. I think it takes too much effort between trying to balance between being dramatic and being funny. Just take Crazy Eyes, for instance. One time, there's this funny thing where she thinks she's married to Dandelion, The next, we're supposed to be super freaked out because she's peeing on the floor. They just take so many pains to get us places in certain parts and none in others, and you fall out of it a little bit from time to time. Don't get me wrong, I powered through it, and I'm glad I did, and I watched the whole thing in one weekend. Compulsion gets an 80. Now, if you total everything up, we get an average of 82.75. It's by no means a bad series, and the main character and her husband are the two least likable characters in the entire thing, but they casted really well, and everybody does very well with the parts that were written to them. For my wrap-up review, I would say go ahead and watch this if you have the time. If there are other things on your list, go watch them. But when you have a chance, come around to this and give it a try. Forgive the slow build-up in the first few episodes, but you need the backstory to understand what's going on when you get to the later episodes. Otherwise, you would not get the same experience out of it. I do want to say one last thing, that as likable as these characters are, they're criminals and they're murderers, some of them. And while I may not disagree with why some of them made the decisions they did, some of these characters don't care about who they were hurting, and that's why they're there. And it's very dangerous to like criminal characters, because for some reason it links that in the real world that criminals may not be so bad, and some of them may not be, but other ones may skin you alive. Please do some research on Ted Bundy if you don't understand what I'm talking about. Alright, that's all I got for you today. I'm Cameron. Have a nice day.